my dear students of class 9. So in our previous video, that means before your unit test, we had discussed about Defect's law of tribes and Newland's law of octaves. So we are discussing about periodic table. So today we will be discussing about Mendeleev's periodic table. So Mendeleev, after Newland's theory and Defect's theory, Mendeleev came up with the idea that these elements, after a certain interval, there is periodic function. That means there is repetition of properties. And he came up with the idea that physical and chemical properties of elements, please listen carefully, physical and chemical properties of the element are the periodic function of atomic masses. Once again, it's atomic masses. So this is the statement of Mendeleev's periodic law. Now Mendeleev in his periodic table, he studied all different elements and he categorized them into different vertical columns known as groups and horizontal rows which are known as periods. In Mendeleev's periodic table, so now we are discussing about some features of Mendeleev's periodic table. Number one, he categorized elements into different groups and he talked about groups and periods. So groups are, you can see in the periodic table, there are vertical columns, such columns, these are all what? Groups. And these periods are horizontal rows. They are what? Horizontal rows. So groups are vertical columns and periods are what? Horizontal rows. Now in Mendeleev's periodic table, he had grouped these elements into 8 different groups. So let's discuss about these 8 different groups. He arranged elements into different groups. Now, how many groups? 8 different groups. Now, here he categorized them into Roman 1 to 8. Groups, that is Roman 1 to Roman 8 groups. So Mendeleev's periodic table consists of how many groups? In total, 8 groups. Now from 1 to 7, now this 1 to 7, they are again further subdivided into subgroups. That means 1 will be divided into, group 1 will be divided into 2 subgroups. That's 1A and 1B. Similarly, 1 to 7, they will be subdivided into A and B subgroups. And one more thing you have to remember here is this group 8. It doesn't contain any subgroup. It has only one group. Now, during Mendeleev's time, inner gases were not discovered. So now let's discuss about the second feature of Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, the elements which are lying on the same subgroup, they will be having similar properties. Not only the properties, their valency will also be same. You have to remember this. Now, groups are what? Vertical columns. Now, if element is lying in the same vertical column, that is a group, that means their properties will be same. In our today's periodic table, you must have seen group 1. Group 1 consists of what? You have hydrogen, then you have lithium, sodium, potassium. Now all of them are lying on the same group. Now they will be having what? Similar properties. Please remember, if they are lying on the same vertical column, they will be having similar property. And one more thing, that is their valency will also be same. Please do not forget this. Now, in Mendeleev's periodic table, there are groups as well as what? Periods. Now, if elements are arranged in this horizontal rows, now they will be lying, if the elements are lying on the same, this horizontal row, then they are said to be on the same period. Okay? Now as you move from left, see, this is your left hand side. As you move from left to right hand side of your periodic table, what happens? The metallic character will decrease. Okay? The metallic character will decrease and non-metallic character will keep on increasing. So as you move from left to right in the periodic table, that's all the period, he also told that the metallic property will decrease and non-metallic character will increase. Okay, these are some of the features of Mendeleev's periodic table. Now let's discuss about what are the merits. Okay, merits of Mendeleev's periodic table. Number one is very simple. We are discussing about merits now. Now, number one is Mendeleev, he classified these elements into different groups and subgroups. Therefore, he made what? The study of elements systematic. It was more easier to know more about the elements. It helped in the study of elements and it made it easier. Now, second one is the second point, that is the merit of Mendeleev is the elements which were not discovered at his time. What he did is he left the vacant spaces, some gap, okay, for these undiscovered elements. Not only that, he left the spaces or the vacant spaces for these unknown elements which were not discovered at his time. He also predicted the properties. Now this element, suppose any element is there, say X. This was not discovered during his time. Then what he did is he left the space for this element X and he also predicted the properties of this element and he was able to tell where, in which group and in which period will this X will lie. Okay, so these are some of the merits of Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, for example, you have in your book, page number 81, he left the space for Eka aluminium. He talked about Eka aluminium. Okay, aluminium, and this particular element was not discovered at his time, but he had left the space for this element, and here Eka means just below aluminium. Okay, so he was able to leave the space for undiscovered elements and he also predicted the properties, and he was also able to correct some of the atomic masses of the elements like gold and platinum. Please don't forget, he also corrected atomic masses of some of the elements like gold and platinum. So we can say that he has contributed a lot in the field of elements and in periodic table. But as you know that there are certain shortcomings, okay, that every individual has. And here, during this time, he told whatever he could about the researches made during that time. But after a few years, it was again found that certain things that he told was incorrect. And the main defect of Mendeleev's periodic table is, please listen carefully, this point is very important. He classified elements based on atomic masses. Okay, atomic masses, which was later corrected, and instead of atomic masses, atomic number was taken, and the same atomic number is the basis of whatever periodic table you have today in your book. It is the atomic number. But Mendeleev, he talked about his law, periodic law, talks about this atomic weight or atomic masses. This was the main defect of what? Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, because he considered atomic masses for classifying different elements, there were certain elements where this made a confusion. Like in your book, you have, in your periodic table, you can see it in modern periodic table, you have argon and you have potassium. Okay, potassium is 90, this is 80. Now I am talking about modern periodic table. This is 80 and this is 90. This is the atomic numbers. Now, if you consider atomic masses, then you can see that carbon has atomic mass of 39.9 and potassium has atomic mass of 39.1. It has atomic mass of 39.1. So we are discussing about demerits. Okay, we are discussing about defects in Mendeleev's periodic table. Now this is your atomic 80 atomic number, and this is your atomic mass. So since Mendeleev talked about atomic masses, now you can look at it clearly. Now if you consider increasing order of atomic masses for categorizing these elements, then obviously this argon has 39.9 and this potassium has 39.1. Now if we take this, okay, atomic masses as told by Mendeleev, then in your periodic table potassium should have come first and then argon 39.9. But actually this is incorrect. In our modern periodic table you can see that argon comes first, then comes potassium. Okay, this was the defect. The defect was in considering atomic mass. I have been repeating this. You have to note it down. The defect is because of what? Atomic masses. Atomic mass was considered was the basis for the classification of these elements in the periodic table. Similarly, you have other example like nickel and copper. Here also the same difficulty was same. Now let's discuss about the second demerits of the Mendeleev's periodic table, that is isotopes. You know about isotopes? Isotopes are those elements which has the same atomic number but different mass number. Now same element, if it has different mass number, then if mass number is considered for this classification of elements in the periodic table, then it is very difficult. And Mendeleev was of the view that these isotopes of this element should be placed in different or a separate category or in a separate group. But this was not seen in the periodic table. Now the third defect is grouping of chemically dissimilar elements. Now you know about copper, you know about silver. Now copper and silver, their properties are different from the alkali metals, that is sodium, lithium, potassium. It is different. Even though it was different, Mendeleev's classification placed this copper and silver in the same group with the alkali metal. Okay, and this is one of the defects. The fourth point is separation of chemically similar elements. Now, gold and platinum, they have the similar properties. They have what? Similar properties, but Mendeleev's classification put them into different groups. Okay, it separated them, even though they had same chemical property, gold and platinum. In Mendeleev's periodic table, they were found in separate groups. So this is one of the defects, and the last is obviously the case of hydrogen. Okay, the last defect is he could not specify the position of hydrogen. The position of hydrogen was not specified. You know, hydrogen's atomic number is 1, and therefore it can show valency of +1. Okay, it can show valency of +1, and it can also show valency of -1. Now, +1, when it loses 1 electron and it gets converted into H+. Now, -1 means when it gains 1 electron, then it becomes H-. Therefore, based on its valency, he was unable to place it. He was confused whether this hydrogen should be placed in group 1, that is alkali metal, or should it be placed in this in our today's periodic table, that is modern periodic table, the 17th group. Okay, so he was confused. Therefore, he was not able to specify the position of hydrogen in the periodic table. Now, in this case, in compounds where you have like HCl, here hydrogen is showing +1 valency. Now, in another compound like sodium hydride, NaH, this is +1, and this hydrogen here is -1. So, due to this differences in its valency, that is to be able to show +1 valency or -1 valency, he was confused in placing hydrogen. Okay, so these are the defects of Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, after Mendeleev's periodic table, there were other scientists, mainly Mosley came up with the idea that if it considered, instead of atomic masses for classifying these elements in the periodic table, if we consider atomic number, then all these defects, most of these defects would be clarified. Now, therefore, Mosley gave the new law, that is modern periodic law, and based on this we have the periodic table that you see in your book. Now, about this we will be discussing in our next video. Till then, please revise whatever I have been teaching you. Whatever has been taught, defects, merits, defects, the law, Mendeleev's periodic law, and the features of Mendeleev's periodic table. Thank you.